Gonna talk a little bit about ash trees and ash tree replacement. So the infestation of the emerald ash borer at this point in 2025 has pretty much run its course. Most trees that will be infected have been, although they are still continuing to spread to new areas. But for the most part, most of the ash trees are pretty much well infested or dead. A lot of them actually are becoming quite dangerous to take down because they are so dry and decaying already. So be careful if you're cutting them down. This is one of the trees that tree climbers need to be very cautious of removing and climbing because of the decay and how brittle they are. I'm standing in front of a couple ash trees on our property that are dead. Very clearly, if you look at the crown, you can tell that they are dead. And they need to be replaced. So just off the top of my head, a couple options for replacing ash trees. Keep in mind they do like moist or more wet soils. Would be the bald cypress, American linden, various types of oak, honey locust, and hackberry. Those would be a good replacement and fit the similar form and size of the ash tree. Please be very careful when removing ash trees. At this point, most of them have been infested for a while and are standing dead. Yes, they're great for burning, but a lot of people now in 2025 are finding that even when they cut them, the decay is so high that a lot of them are just so brittle, which makes it difficult for tree climbers to effectively climb or to take them down. So the emerald ash borer is a beetle. It's known that they can't fly more than about a mile. Some people say it's about a quarter mile. So if you do find trees on your property or under your management that are not infected with it, it would be best to prune any active infestations within at least a quarter mile of those trees. They are finding ash trees that are resistant to the ash borer. The green ash tree seems to be some of the most promising. It has genetic ability to recognize the attack from the beetle and to okay, neighbors, roosters, or chickens. Yeah, so the green ash tree can recognize the attack and somehow compartmentalize its effects. The white ash also has some promising genetics. In general, though, so many of these trees have already died off that we really do need to be replacing them. You may not know, but the average mature tree can absorb hundreds of gallons of water per day. And if you aren't a fan of runoff and would like to slow and capture the water and prevent water damage, which also makes you a good neighbor, let's replace those trees. A mature tree can absorb hundreds of gallons of water a day and transpire or use up and evaporate that water all within 24 hours. It's a good idea to replace your dying trees or the trees you have had removed, regardless of them being an ash tree or not. It will help to slow down the water movement through the land, absorb the moisture. It will help the runoff and erosion on property, and also make you a better neighbor because of it. So much infrastructure in our world is caused by poor water management on properties. So growing trees is a wonderful way to help mitigate those damages. The emerald ash borer will fly onto the tree, find a crevice that it can lay eggs into. Those pupa will then go into the tissue of the tree. The larvae will work their way up the tree and eat and eat and eat, thus causing the damage and stealing the tree's ability to thrive. And then we'll make a D-shaped hole as it eats its way out. Here we can see a D-shaped hole and another one right there, pretty clear. Another one up there, and you can see where the larva has eaten away. On a tree with bark on it, it can be a little more difficult to tell, but that's a D-shaped hole. There's some in here as well. There's actually a lot here. There's one up here. You start to look and you'll see a lot of them. You may find holes, and those may be regular borers, not necessarily a huge concern as much as the emerald ash borer. So other signs other than the holes in your bark and the obvious decay would be woodpecker scratches and holes. The woodpeckers obviously love going after these things. It's good food for them. So that is one positive thing out of this. But the other signs would be looking at the top branches and the farthest out branches. They start to die off first, and then they die from the outside top to the inside middle. That's just the expression of the tree as it's in decline, and there's really nothing you can do about it besides just try to cut it down and limit the food that this beetle is able to eat. I've talked to some old timers who have managed woods for a long time, and they seem to say the same thing about this blight and that blight, or this insect, or whatever the issue is. And they say, yeah, eventually these trees will come back. It may take a while. Thankfully, due to the genetic research and good efforts on the part of landowners, and community service projects, there's a lot that we can do. But for now, there's how you can identify your ash borer issues, and here's a solution. Replace the tree. Contact me if you would like some help replacing your trees.